Okay, so I'm going to just give you a quick overview of the 3 lessons that you're doing over Thanksgiving week. We covered a couple of these things in class, but the last thing we did not. So I'll just go through it really briefly. In lesson 49, talks about multiplying polynomials. A polynomial is just an expression that has one or more variables. So for example, if we're going to take and multiply 4x plus 5 times 3x minus 2. You all know what I'm going to say. I'm going to tell you to remember to watch the signs, because that's where we get a little confused sometimes. And also in your book, it says to write the answer in descending order of the variable. All that means is that we want the x squareds first, and then the x's, and then the numbers, which I'll show you when we get to our answer. So if you know how to do the distributive property, which you all do, then you'll know how to multiply these. The simplest way, they show you a different way in the book, but there is a simpler way to do, is we're going to take and pretend that this one just says 4x times 3x minus 2 for the moment. So we're going to do the distributive property with this, as if we were doing this problem, 4x times 3x minus 2, in which we would distribute the 4x and multiply it by the 3x, and then we would multiply the 4x by the negative 2, taking care to watch the sign. So over here in our original problem, it looks like this. We're going to first take the 4x and multiply it by 3x, and that gives us 12x squared. Then we're going to take the 4x and multiply it by minus 2. Remember that sign. So 4x times minus 2 is minus 8x. Now we still have this plus 5 that we didn't do any multiplication with. So now we're going to look at the problem as if it was just the plus 5 times 3x minus 2. So we distributed the 4x first. Now we're going to distribute the 5. 5 times 3x is positive 15x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. That's all that is involved with multiplying them. The only thing we have to do next is look to see if there are any like terms that we can combine. And there are. There's a negative 8x right here and a positive 15x right here. So negative 8 plus 15 is a positive 7. So the simplified answer would be 12x squared plus 7x minus 10. That would be our simplified answer, and that would be the answer to multiplying these 2 polynomials. So in a sense, you just do the distributive property twice. So I think that's all that there is in lesson 49. Just keep in mind to watch those. Oh, there is one other one. If it just says 3x plus 2 squared, you would do the same thing. We would write 3x. The squared means that this is multiplied by itself twice. So that's how we would write it out. Then we would multiply the 3x times this 3x and that positive 2. Then we would distribute the 2 as well. So 3x times 3x equals 9x squared. 3x times a positive 2 equals a plus 6x. Now we move to the 2. 2 times 3x is another positive 6x. 2 times 2, remember that plus, is a positive 4. Combining these 2 middle-like terms gives us 9x squared plus 12x plus 4. And that would be the answer. So we're going to go ahead and move on to lesson 50, which simply talks about finding where you're going to place ordered pairs on a graph. So I'm going to draw my graph first. And like I told you in class, this is the y-axis, and we can remember that as if this was a yo-yo going up and down. Y could stand for yo-yo. And then this would be the x-axis. So when we want, let's put some numbers in there first. So we're going to add some numbers on this side. And this would be the negative numbers. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And this would be negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. And then we'll do that on the y-axis. And we'll label those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll put some negative ones on here as well. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Now, we are going to see if we can plot some ordered pairs on this graph. An ordered pair is just simply two numbers within parentheses. We have to keep in mind that the first number represents x and the second number represents y. So in this ordered pair 3, 2, the 3 is how far along the x-axis we're going to go. So we're going to move 3, 1, 2, 3 along the x-axis. Now we have a positive 2. So to find out where this ordered pair is, we need to go up 2. So we would move 1, 2 from there. And then we would plot the point that is 3 to the positive on the x-axis and 2 to the positive on the y-axis. We'll see where those two meet, and it's approximately right there. So that is how you would plot the ordered pair 3, 2. We're going to do another one. We'll do -1, 5. Remember, -1 is where it is at on the x-axis. So -1 is right here. Now we need to do a positive 5. So we're going to move up 5 from this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have -1 and 5. We see where those two meet, and that is where you would plot the point -1, 5. Let's do one more. Let's do 3, -4. Again, 3 stands for the x, so we'll do 1, 2, 3 on the x-axis. Now we have a -4, so we need to move down. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4 is -4, and there's a 3, and they meet approximately right here. 3, -4, and they meet right there. So that is how you would plot ordered pairs on a graph. So that's all there is to lesson 50. Now, lesson 51 is where we're going to actually, instead of just plotting ordered pairs, we're actually going to plot some lines. So we're going to draw another little graph. This is the y-axis, and this is the x. I'll put some more points on here. I'm moving in the positive on the x. Now I'm moving into the negative on the y, and negative on the x-axis, and the positive on the y. So we'll put our numbers in so we know how we are going to draw a line on this graph. So -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. And then we'll call this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I'm going to turn to lesson 51. And the first thing it tells us to do is to graph the line y equals 2x minus 1. What does it mean to graph a line? Well, what that means is that we're going to try to find a line in which all the points on the line will satisfy this equation, which means that if you put, remember, an ordered pair has two numbers. This first one stands for the x, and the second one stands for the y. So we're going to find a line that shows all the numbers that make this equation true. So for example, if we put a 1 in for x, that would make 2 times 1 equal to 2. Then we're going to say -1, because that's what our line says, equals y. If we put a 2 in there, we have 2 equals 2 minus 1, and that does not work. So the point 1, 2, which is right here, 1, 2, that point would not be on the line. So what we have to do is we need to find a couple of points that would actually be on that line, and then we'll draw it to cover all the points that would make this equation true. So you come up with a little chart. We're going to have some x's and some y's. We only need to come up with 3. So we want to pick some numbers that would satisfy this equation. That just means that would make this equation true. And we want to pick small numbers that would actually be on our graph. If I pick the number 20 for an x, 20 would be way over here, so it would not work. So we're going to start off with we'll put in a 1 for x. If I put 1 in for x, 2x would be 2. 2 minus 1 equals 1. So that means y would also have to be 1. So if x is 1, then y equals 1. Now let's try what happens with 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. So if I put a 2 in for x, then the y would equal 3. because 4 minus 1 is 3. We're going to do one more so that we can actually plot the line. Let's go and try 0. If we put 0 in for x, 0 times 2 is 0. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So the y here would be negative 1. Now we have 3 points that we can graph on our graph. So this first one, the x is 1 and the y is 1. So we need to find on here on our graph, where is the point 1, 1? So we do 1 here for x and 1 here for y. We see where they meet, and that point would be right here. Now we're going to graph this point. This point has 2 for x and 3 for y. So we're going to move up 2 for x, and then our y is 3. So we're going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. So that point is right here. And then our final one that we've chosen our little graph, x equals 0, y equals negative 1. So x is 0 and y is negative 1. So that point would be right here. Now I forgot to bring my ruler down. It's nice to be able to draw a ruler and make it very neat. So you see how these 3 points line up? I'm going to use this piece of paper and see if that will work for a ruler. We're going to draw the line that contains those 3 points. And we'll put the arrows on it to show that it goes on forever. This line right here is the graph of y equals 2x minus 1. And what that means is that any ordered pair x and y that make this equation true will be found on this line. And any point off of this line will not make this equation true. So all the answers to that equation are found on this line. And that's how you graph it. So you look at the equation, you make yourself a little chart, you pick a x, and then put it into the equation and figure out what the y would be. And after you choose 3 points, then you draw the line in order to find how to graph the line of this equation.